You had Cale Yarborough come along and started as a carpenter or something, right?
Oh, he was an apprentice carpenter at that. Mm-hmm. Banging John Holman for a ride. And then the Ford Motor Company gave him a ride. Yeah. Or gave him a chance, and he proved out to be the one they took. And they put him in Banjo's car to start with. And, boy, he was amazing right off the get-go.
Yeah. He was a scrappy little fellow, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Well, they tried to get him to play football for the South Carolina did, and he didn't want to do that. He wanted to race cars.
Okay. Well, that was a good decision, I think, because he's as small as he was, playing football. It might not have been the best thing, but he's probably fast.
Well, he was tough. Let me tell you, he was toughest one human being I ever run up against.
Yeah.
He was one heck of a driver, one of the best I ever worked with. Mm-hmm. But Cale, he was a different. He knew nothing about a race car. And of course, I knew he didn't, because whenever I was home with Moody, he wasn't interested in nothing but driving. He didn't care about building it or working on it or nothing. And I remember when we first went together, and he'd walk away from race car on Saturday afternoon after practice. He said, he'd tell us, well, if you think anything, do it to it. Just don't slow it down. And the next thing he'd tell me, if you don't want me to use it, don't give it to me.
There you go.
Because he was going to use it. He wouldn't pet it.
Did you ever look at him and say, can you be a little more specific?
I know one of the biggest mistakes I ever made was in '83 when he come to drive a race car. In '82 at Talladega, Benny Parsons and I was the first to break 200 mile an hour at Talladega. And I said, well, and it was ended up being a bigger deal than I thought it was. I remember being on pit road and we broke 200 mile an hour. I said, we're on the pole, and what's 200 mile an hour? It's just the number. But then I remember I went outside to pick up some tickets. The guys their wives was coming, and they just wanted some passes. And I walked in, and I'm telling you, they was hooping and hollering and said, you won't believe the people that's wanting tickets now, because that 200 mile an hour is a magic number.
How about
and that's the first time it hit me that it was that big a number.
Yeah. Was it?
So then the next year, Cale come to drive our car.
Yeah.
So I said, well, it'd be nice to break 200 mile an hour at Talladega or Daytona for the first time. Nobody had done that yet. Mm-hmm. So we're in the wind tunnel with the car, and we had the CD numbers on it and the flow numbers, and they wanted to know the horsepower I had, and I told them that. And they calculated and said, that car would run 203 mile an hour at Daytona. So anyway, when we get to Daytona, 45 mile an hour, 45 seconds is 200 mile an hour, and Cale's out there running 46s and 7, and I'd never worked with anybody like that. He was sandbagging, and I'd been used to Buddy Baker and Bobby Allison, all them second lap, you knew exactly what you had. Mm-hmm. But not Cale. He was going to hide what he had. Oh. So we go out there to qualify, and I had the spoilers cut down to 20 degree. He pushed it on down some more, which at that time with that notchback, it didn't have a lot of effect anyway. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the first lap he went over 200 mile an hour, and the guy in the tower was telling me this after it's over, and he gave me the clip on it, and they were jumping up and down because it break 200 mile an hour, and down the back stretch, that guy said, you think that's something? He's on a clip now at 203 mile an hour. Then he goes into turn 3 and got away from him.
Oh, yeah, and that's when it went airborne.
Yeah. So anyway, I come back in the garage after going to the infield care center and checking on him, and he was okay. Mm-hmm. Only thing he told me, he said, well, you didn't put the controls in it so I could fly it.
Yes.
But Bill France Jr. came to me, and he said, if you'll fix that race car, you've got the 200 mile an hour, you will be on the pole, and you can work on it 24 hours a day, now till Thursday, the 125s or 150s, whichever, and then run a couple out, pull it back in, and finish whatever you need to do. Mm-hmm. So Harry Ranier was the owner. He come to me and he said, well, my jet's sitting out there, and the guy from Cale met for him said, mine's sitting out here. Chevrolet had called, got in touch with me and said, well, anything you need from Chevrolet, we'll have it down there in the morning. But there was 3 guys that Cale wanted me to hire whenever he come with us, and they came to me and said, we ain't gonna work on that race car. Happy hour's gonna be in a couple hours. We're going to happy hour. So it really bugged me that I let it go with that, because I remember Leonard Wood come to me and he said, "Waddell, you're not going to fix that race car?" He said, "Let me tell you something." And I had never dawned on me. He said, "You've been on the pole 4 years in a row, different drivers and different cars, and this would be your 5th year." He said, "You're not going to fix it." He said, "You'll always regret it." And boy, I have ever. And, you know, and then the next thing is, because Bill France, you know, it would have helped him. You know, it'd been the best thing we could have done to fix it. And it could have been fixed, I know, because everybody wanted to help.
Yeah. But
I just didn't take it serious enough, I guess. But it's still, I kicked myself. But the funniest thing that ever happened, Junior Johnson walked by it, and a friend of his told me about it years later. He said, "Junior looked at that thing and said, anything goes that fast ought to turn over."
Oh.
But Junior, he was something else.
Gosh.
But anyway,
sure.
you know, we took a backup car and still won the 500. And then the next year with Cale again, we won it in '84 too.
Trying to find a place to run. They're coming to the finish line. At the line, it is Cale Yarborough. He's done it again. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Cale Yarborough crossing the line, winning back-to-back as the first man since the late Fireball Roberts to win a Daytona Triple Crown. A marvelous race. And again, the executor in the back straightaway. Cale Yarborough, this must be a thrill. What a great maneuver on that car. Had such incredible power today.
You know, another thing I thought about, if he'd have made that second lap, Cale would in '84 or '83, I mean, it'd been a 203, and the pole car ended up 198. We'd been on the pole by 5 miles an hour.
Wow.
Bill France would have had a fit.
Oh yeah, he would have. Gosh.
So your Uncle Randy has a couple questions, and
Okay.
I'm trying to see if I can shorten it, but I can't. He says, was the backup car an Oldsmobile and was a show car at Hardee's? What all did Waddell have to do to the show car to get it race ready? This refers to the car Cale flipped at Daytona.
Well, we slipped the Chevrolet and then brought a Pontiac Le Mans back, and which was at the shop. You know, we'd use it as a show car. We'd turned it into a show car. And I called my son, and a friend of his had this pickup truck and a trailer that they hauled Saturday night race cars on. And they brought it all the way brought it to Daytona, and then we got it ready. And only qualified 195 with it, but there wasn't no effort much put into it. But then Cale with it, you know, he was able to win the 500 with it.
He says, what did you do with the headers to minimize reversion?
Well, the first thing, it started with the camshaft and then the carburetor. And the headers, you know, I found step down headers, and that's ended up with that was the big game we had. I remember I done it on Cale Yarborough's car for the first time. So, but you know, it was quite a job to make it fit in the car, and you got it all worked out. But I remember we won the Daytona 500 with the first setup. NASCAR worked on all that, and those cars flying and trying to keep them on the ground and not get them airborne.
Yeah.
So
Like Bobby Allison's.
Oh yeah, that time he got in the fence at Talladega. That was a scary time. I still remember that. And it was like the car was going to go in the fence. Fence was going in, and all of a sudden it tightened up and threw him back out in the racetrack. If it went in there, I don't know how many hundred people had been killed.
Yeah. Wow. Did you ever see Cale Yarborough get in his plane and fly around?
No.
Okay. Did you ever fly with him? All right. Did you hear the story about the bear in the plane?
I've heard of it, but
That's one of those Henry Benfield stories. I know you can't tell too many of his stories, but you know where Cale Yarborough said he wanted a bear for some reason, and then apparently Henry Benfield found him a bear and put it inside the airplane, had it bundled up, strapped up, whatever. But then the bear got loose during the flight, so whenever Cale landed into the airport, he took off running out of the plane basically before it was even stopped. the story I heard.
I'm
the
just
bear
curious
comes
how
out
you
after
get a
him.
bear in a plane and you get in
That's
the plane
what I
and don't
was
see
trying
it.
to figure out.
He
Yeah.
can do
I mean, it
some
was a
wild
baby?
things.
Yes, I don't know.
Cale can do some wild things. He'd challenge anything at any time.
No fear.
It's so good. We never had any problems whatsoever, and all I could do was drive it and just went to the front.
Well, you got that move down pat.
I've been working on it a long time then.
Well, it certainly has, Ken. And I'll tell you, when you work on it that long and a man of perfection that he